Book 2, welcome to Jackie's Learning Corner. I am Jackie, and we literally just got back from visiting my grandmother again. So of course I brought some books with me. And I actually brought a book that I made a lot of progress and was, at the halfway point of. Instead of bringing all these books in, I just wanted to, was excited to start in the moment. I mean, of course I still brought some of those. I even brought all the books, almost all the books I ordered from Thrift Books, except for one of them, but there was one that I didn't bring, but it's also a sequel, so I gotta read the first book first. So first we have Rebecca's Tale by Sally Bowman. I just talked about this in my last book update, but this is, in case you don't remember or you haven't watched that video yet, this is a sequel to Daphne du Maurier's novel, Rebecca. And this, we have Colonel Julian returns. He's our first narrator, and he's just trying to understand Rebecca and what happened to her. And you find out that he was also in love with her too. And this historian has recently arrived from Scotland, Terence Gray, and he is determined to find out the truth about Rebecca, maybe write a book about it. And of course the Colonel is a little distrustful of him, and we as a reader get the impression that he has a good reason to be distrustful, like that there's something about this guy, like there's some secret, he has his own secrets. And we find out what those are in his part of the story. We get a lot of the book is from his perspective, because Colonel Julian is older and he's getting on in years, so like at one point he does get where he has to be on bed rest. But also, as far as the story goes, it's not just that he's put out of commission, but also that it's kind of Terence Gray's story as well as Rebecca's. And the section I'm currently reading is Rebecca's point of view. We get her story. Which I like that. I like when that's, I like how you have a character like this introduced in a classic, and you don't know much about that character, and then but their presence there, and you might know at least a little bit about them, but you just know them from a certain person's point of view, and you don't know if that's accurate. So this one, and I did do kind of a video about this where I like, talking about what I want to see in adaptations, and I want to see more adaptations that talk about characters that are kind of overshadowed by the main characters the author has chosen to make the main characters, but they're sometimes more interesting. I mean, even today there are a lot of novels where sometimes, where sometimes the main character isn't that great, is kind of boring, but the secondary characters are a lot more compelling and interesting. Like, in Twilight, I actually, looking back now, I feel like Bella was not as intriguing as a main character. It was kind of a blank slate. And just maybe, I mean, like, yeah, you could say she probably had some psychological issues and maybe even depression and all that, but I still feel like there was a lot to her character. And, some of the more interesting characters were like characters like Alice and Rosalie, or, Jacob and, his fellow Quailites, I just watched videos on some of these characters, I don't remember their names now. So now that one's not old enough a book for someone to write, like some other, it would have to be, Stephenie Meyer herself would have to write these books. And I mean, except for possibly fan fiction, there might be fan fiction out there that someone could write that is about those characters. But anyway, back to this. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I definitely am eager to get them, piece it all together and find out the truth. Because I feel like the original novel kind of left it open-ended. Like, you could interpret it how you want to. I mean, it implied, although it might have implied that Maxim was guilty, but of what exactly? Like, did he actually, was he responsible for her death? Or did she commit suicide as, who knows? And I'm hoping that book will answer these questions. And like I said, there seems to be a bit of a connection between Rebecca and Terrence that that's hinted at in the book. We just don't know what that is yet. Actually, I do know, but I'm not gonna tell you unless you read it. But yeah, I am enjoying this, and I'm almost done with it. Now, I did bring Hood with me. This is the first book, and the sequel. The other book I got that I didn't bring with me was the sequel to Hood, and that's Scarlet. So I obviously could not bring that with me, so there was no way I was going to finish Hood before then. This is a Robin Hood retelling, in case you haven't figured that out. In case you didn't know. And, they have a scene in the beginning of the book that implies, because the characters don't have the same names as they do in the original, the original classic. It's more historically, and they actually have a scene where the characters, name two of the members of our young prince, who's the Robin Hood figure, his group of friends. So it's a little cheesy, but it's cute that they explain why they are those characters, like in the original story. And actually, and another thing is, this book made me think of a little bit of the Saxon series with our main character. And just the young and brash, and just having kind of acting a little bit like a punk, and just acting all like, and just being angry at the world. I've only read the first 10 chapters, which that's more than I've read in a day than a lot of these other books. Sometimes I only read like the first 6 or 8 chapters, but I was determined to get to the first 10 chapters. But I am enjoying this so far. It's fun, and I cannot wait to read more. Okay, so those are the most of my focus was on those books, along with the other 2 books I read the most. First of all, let me go ahead and tell you guys, I read the first first 3 chapters of this book, which is the English Civil War, because we're gonna try again in September to go to London. So I wanted to read some British history, so I decided to start this book. So this might end up being a summer read, the rest of this. I might read a couple more chapters in May. I don't know. We'll see. Because there's a lot of books I want to read in May. And I actually want to do I might do a little theme in May. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So, I've kind of read what the first 2 chapters kind of talking about what kind of started this civil war in England, with the current English king wanting everyone to convert to Catholicism, I think it was. And I actually am reading I read the the novella in the Huguenot Connection. It's a trilogy, and I read the first one, and that also, but it's actually in France, where the king wants everyone to be Catholic, and there's a lot of Protestants, and our main characters are a family of Protestants. But anyway, so I don't know if it's the same war or not, having to do with maybe France and England were on the same page. I do not know, but anyway, but yeah, so far this is interesting. I don't have a lot to say about this yet but you know, like I said, I'm hoping to read this before September so that I'll have something to talk. So I'll be able to, you know, have a lot to talk about. You know, I'll know my history, a little bit more about the history of England. Okay, so now the last book where I read a lot of was When Elephants Dance. And I wasn't sure about bringing this one because I thought it was going to be really sad and kind of depressing. So I was like, let me bring some more happier books. And that are less hard but actually, you know, yeah, it still is about what the Japanese did to the Filipinos and how when they invaded the Philippines during the war, and it makes me think about a little bit of what the Nazis did to the Jews. And with our main Alejandro and his brother and their family made me think of, and living with a bunch of other, you know, their close friends made me think of, which actually I think I talked about this in my last update video, that it made me think a little bit about what happened with in Anne Frank's diary, how Anne Frank and her family had to live in an attic with, I don't know if it was their extended family or other, you know, or was it some close friends lived with them. But it made me think of that. But also, you know, while this is going on in the first section of the book, we also get these other stories about, like, these stories that have a little bit of a magical realism feel to them. And I think they're telling these stories to get them through the night, you know, and to not think about their, you know, their fears and what's going on in Manila at the time with the Japanese. And now the second part is from another character's perspective that's part of the main family, Isabella. She is the Alejandro's sister, and you find that at one point she left, and she and her mom don't exactly see eye to eye. They don't, like, her mom kind of disapproves of her. She wants to be a doctor, and her mom thinks it's better if she be a nurse because she feels like she's not gonna. It's a more sensible profession, and that she's more prone to succeed and do well as a nurse than being a doctor. She doesn't think it could happen for her daughter. So at some point, Isabel left, and she helped. And her section starts with her helping the leader of the guerrillas. I don't remember his name. Helping him after he gets, you know, he reveals himself to the Japanese soldiers, and they beat him and they try to kill him, but he ends up getting the upper hand and is able to, and the soldiers temporarily leave, intending to send another group of soldiers to try to take care of him. And Isabel sees all this, and she's debating if she wants to save him or not, because he's gonna be, you know, to her, he's gonna be dead weight. Like, it's gonna be a lot for her to carry. But he actually, you know, she ends up feeling guilty and decides to help him out. So I don't know if we're gonna get any other. No, I'm assuming we're gonna get more stories. Like, maybe he's gonna tell Isabel stories, or she's gonna tell him stories. But yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet story because it's sad and horrifying what happened, what the Japanese did. But I like the stories we get in between that are a little more fun and magical and fantastical stories. I don't know a lot about the, you know, again, another thing I don't know about the Philippines is all the mythologies. I know some things here and there. I've heard things like, I think they have their own woman in white, which in the country there was a story that kind of connected to that myth. a little bit of The Woman in White. So I think they have their own version of that. But yeah, so yeah, this is sad, but they have some lighthearted, fun moments as well in this book. And we really, our characters, we get this, like, the scenes with the family, Ellie Hunter's family and their friends are kind of fun and touching to read about, and I think, and actually, he said the whole, I feel like the whole mother-daughter dynamic is relatable to people, having, like, especially, I feel like you would get that a lot more in a lot of other cultures. So yeah, this is really good. And okay, sorry, I'm trying not to use the word but it's very hard not to. So there's that. Okay, so those are really the books that got the most reading. Like, I did bring the 2 other books that I ordered. These 2. Last time I saw Mother and Viaharo, but I didn't read them, and I was starting to think, I was reminded that May also, which I don't know why, I knew it was one of these things where I knew it, but I didn't think about it. That it's in the U.S. it's Mother's Day is in May, so, maybe, like, I'll read this in May, which is another book that has a mother-daughter relationship that's probably very complicated. I don't know when I will start this. Viaharo. I might save this for the summer. I mean, it was one of these things where I was like, I just got it, and I want to read it right this second because I just got it. It's my new shiny new book. But I think I might wait until the summer to read this one. Because I don't want to read, as I said last time, I don't want to read all my Filipino books that I get, the books I currently have all at once. I want to read them one at a time and monthly. Because although I do have Filipino books on my, more on my Amazon wishlist, like there's The Last Mango Bride is on there. I put a few others as well, but I'm not, I want to take my time with this. I don't want to rush and read them all at once. So, but I don't want to have them sitting there for a long period of time. I want to make sure I get through them because I have a lot of books that have a bad habit of where I buy them and I'm excited to read them, but then they end up sitting there for a long time because I decide I don't want to read them right that moment. Like, there's a lot of series that I have that problem with, I still have not read Shadow Rising. Or books like War and Peace. Or, Words of Radiance. Or, The Name of All Things. So, anyway. Also, I did bring home. Okay, so I have said this before. I didn't intend to read these anytime soon, but then I started thinking about them. These are Anne Rice's more religious relating to Christianity books. And I believe they are novels. Fiction. I believe they are fiction. And these were actually books that I got for my grandma, but she didn't show any interest. I mean, she, for like a second when she got them I don't know if it was a Christmas gift. Like, at the time, maybe she was appreciated and was excited, but then it just, because sadly my grandma's not a reader. I mean, she used to read the Bible, and she did like the Left Behind series, but these were sitting in the cabinet in the dining room. She never cracked them open. And then there was another, I gave her Sarah's Key. I don't remember what the author's name is. but I gave her that book as well, thinking, oh, you might like this. And she never even bothered to read it, I don't think. She just uses it to hold up her mirror, her makeup mirror. And to this day, I still look at it and I'm like, really? But, if I try to take it from her, she'll notice. If I take it off of there. I mean, I could replace it with another book, but she will notice those things. If something's different, she will notice that. So that, and we'll be sitting there for a long time. I don't know when it will, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, wait a second. Oh my god. Did she? Of course, she actually did. Okay, so she did start reading them, but never continued them. So that's hilarious. They've been sitting there, and she totally forgot about them. So anyway, so I've decided, I've said in the past I was going to read them, but you know what? I decided, I am going to read them, and and I might be able to recommend. I have another friend who's very into her beliefs. She is Christian. So she might like these too one day once I read them. But so I'm gonna go and read the back. I mean, with the Holy Land in turmoil, 7-year-old Jesus and his family leave Egypt for the dangerous road home to Jerusalem. As they travel, the boy ponders the mystery surrounding his birth and confronts his innate power to work miracles. Anne Rice's dazzling kaleidoscopic novel, based on the Gospels and most respected New Testament scholarship, summons up the voice, the presence, and the words of Jesus, allowing him to tell his own story as he struggles to grasp the holy purpose of his life. So it kind of does. So it sounds like it kind of does what Jesus Christ Superstar does, where it kind of humanizes Jesus Christ a little bit and humanizes him, and it sounds like, so that could be really interesting. I mean, maybe not for everybody that's. And then this one, The Road to Cana. Okay. It's winter, of no rain, endless dust, and the talk of trouble in Judea. All who know and love Jesus find themselves waiting for some sign of the path he will eventually take. After his baptism, he is at last ready to confront his destiny. At the wedding at Cana, sorry for me, I don't know how you're supposed to say that, he takes water and transforms it into red wine. Thus he's recognized as the Anointed One, and called by God the Father, to begin a ministry that will transform an unsuspecting world. Okay, so this is the second book. So this is a series. So it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of about Jesus, and looking at him as if, as almost human-like, not just a powerful entity, but God or whatever, but actually humanizes him. And these have different publishers. This is Ballantine Books and Anchor Books. So these are different publishers. So it's funny that my grandma actually did start reading Christ the Lord out of Egypt. But I guess she forgot. But anyway, maybe I can convince her, and that's what my mom and I were talking about. She said, maybe if you read them, you can convince her. But yeah, we've always tried to find things that would keep her busy and keep her entertained a little bit, because she's by herself and we can't always go, we live 3 hours away. My mom still works, so, and my dad does too, so it's kind of hard. And so we're always trying to find ways to keep her mind busy, instead of just sitting there and staring at her iPad or watching Fox News all the time. So yeah, so I want to talk about those. I don't know when I'll read them yet. But anyway, so Um, I do want to continue reading Anne of Avonlea. Like I said, I decided not to bring this one with me to my grandmother's. The last I read before we left was up to chapter 10, and there's 30 chapters, so I'll read 10 more chapters. Now I am working the next 2 days, so I'll still find time to read, like, when I get home from work, working before I go to work. But if I can read, like, a good amount of chapters in the morning, I could probably get this done before the end of the month. Because it's only 30 chapters, and it's very easy to read because it's, I'm not the target audience, so the way they wrote it's for younger readers. I really enjoy these books. I'm glad I started reading this because I wasn't sure if I would enjoy it because I'm not the target audience. But these are so much fun, and I loved the miniseries from back in the day, and I loved the original, the most recent adaptation, and with an E. I always, and I'm tempted to watch it again. And I think I think, my niece and nephew could watch it. I mean, it's hour-long episodes, but it's, it's age appropriate. Nothing. But anyway, so yeah, I will start this up again, before the end of the month. I did also wanted to read this one too. Pocahontas and Captain John Smith, The Story of the Virginia Colony. And again, I don't know if this is nonfiction or a fictionalized version of history, but I don't know if it will. It's probably not Disney-fied where it turns, John Smith and Pocahontas' relationship into a romance. And you know what? The Disney movie has its faults, but I was watching someone, one of those videos on YouTube. Like, I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube where people will watch these old movies and, just talk about the movie and their response to it and what, whether it's like they haven't watched it in years or it's their first time watching it. And they will, they're doing all this commentary, and this one guy had watched Pocahontas for the first time. And, I was just looking at it, and I kind of, I get that it has faults, but it's not anything, but I still kind of like that movie. It's still kind of fun. You're like, yeah, it kind of sugarcoats what happened, and yes, it turns Pocahontas into, a lot older than she was when she met John Smith, and it romanticizes their relationship and everything. So, and, there's some issues of how she's portrayed in that movie. Like I said, she was a little girl historically. But, they portray her as an older woman, like in her 20s or at least late teens. But yeah, so there are issues with that, but I still kind of like the movie. And I might watch it again, since, like, with those videos, they're not gonna show the whole movie. They're just, showing bits and pieces for copyright reasons. They can't show you the whole thing. But, those are really fun, though. Movie ones, and then, there are some channels I watch like, TV shows and stuff, and it's just so much fun to see these people reacting, because they say, especially when they say it's their first time. But yeah, I would like to read this as well. This for the springtime. I don't know why. This feels like a spring book. And maybe it's because of the color, the blue color of this naked hardback. Maybe that makes me think of spring. And there's a lot of, like, nature. John Smith is interacting with the Native Americans who value nature and appreciating, the world around you, because all the colonists decided, because they were all looking for gold and stuff, so they dug up their trees and destroyed their earth and their, all because they thought they had gold. So I'm gonna read this one before the end of the month, or maybe start it and continue into May. And I would like to try to squeeze in some other ones. These, now we're kind of getting into which probably will end up being May reads. I do want to continue with A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan, the first book. Like I said, I still haven't picked it up again since I brought it with me last time we went to see my grandma. So I'm going to pick it up again soon. And then this is another one of those books that I've been meaning to read for a long time, is Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. And this is also one of these things where I wanted the UK covers, and I finally got them, and I still haven't read them yet. And it's not even, look, it's not even that long. I feel like Mistborn the Last Empire is a little bit longer than this one. But yeah, so these two I want to read. And also another book that I feel like is a very spring type book that feels, I don't know why, but Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. I want to read this one too, but it is a chunky book. But it feels spring-like to me. And I want to read this one as well. And I want to start reading Native Son, because this belongs to my sister, and I don't want to be able to finally return it to her. But this was I don't know. I'm not, like I said last time, I'm not in a rush, because I don't think my sister is going to be mad at me or anything if I don't return to it, but I feel like I should at some soon. So I might pick this up during the summer, because I don't know if I will get to it in May. And then two more books that aren't related to my theme of the month that I want to read in May are, I want to continue with John Adams by David McCullough. Now, what I was thinking about doing this is, because July, of course, Independence Day, maybe reading that for, saving this for July, but July is also Jane Austen July, and I want to get to, and I don't want to stop doing that. I want to do that again this year. So when I'm thinking about doing kind of this is kind of why I was starting thinking about, doing a quintessential American reads TBR in June, starting that in June, doing that in the summer because of, July 4th and everything. So I might save this for June and continue with it, but I do need to read a little bit, a bit more of this. And so this might be a June read. I don't know, but I would like to, read a little bit in May of this. Although there's the problems, I say I want to read a little bit, but then I'm like, but I want to read books that I will finish as well. So I'm gonna, so I'm gonna pick up this one soon. And then Lady Audley Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. This is another one I brought with me last time I went to my grandmother's. And I read, only a little bit of it. So I want to continue with it again. At least I want to try to get to the page I stopped at last time, which I think was page 49. And then actually, finish the book. Um, okay, so on to the actual theme I was thinking about doing for May. May is technically Asian American Heritage Month. Asian Heritage Month. So I was thinking for the first time I will participate in that and be more, especially since I've been trying to focus more on my Filipino heritage. As you guys know, as I mentioned, I'm currently reading When Elephants Dance. So this is kind of the books I was looking at starting and reading in May. So first we have the Ramayana, which is a retelling of the Indian epic. So this is more East Asian culture. Now I've never read the epic before, but you know, I don't know if that will hinder me at all for getting into this. I mean, I don't think it will, but maybe I will. But I would like to find the original epic probably and actually read it at some point. But for now, I'm going to start with this, which is a retelling, and then maybe after I'm done with the retelling, I can reread this again. I do have 1001 Nights, and I might start that as well. But you see, I can't plan too far in advance. Okay, so and then we have The Grace of Kings. It's the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty. It's the 4th book, and I do have book 2. And I don't remember off the top of my head this play. I would have to read the back to you guys again. But I figure now I'll only take the opportunity to read this because the setting is Asian inspired. I don't know if it's China or Japan, I'm not sure. But it will be good motivation, and it's fantasy, and when it comes to themes, I'm always worried that I'll be wishing I had fantasy. So I was, like to try to kind of include a fantasy that is kind of inspired that has a fantasy element, a book that matches the theme, but still is still kind of part of the fantasy genre. So yeah, I'm gonna read that as well. Now there's no guarantee I'll get to all these books I mentioned. But and then I also got The Tale of Genji. The first American translation. Now this is only part of the story. This is not the whole thing. Now actually I don't think it's actually an abridged. I thought originally when I talked about this I said this was an abridged version. But I feel like this is more of a shortened version. It says here the authentic first translation of the world's earliest novel. Because it only goes up to chapter 17, I think. And this is the story of Genji, who I think he's a bastard prince. And he gets involved with 2 women. So it kind of, when I ordered it, kind of made me think a little bit of the Red and Black, which that I did not love, but I'm hoping I will love this, enjoy this more. And I figured this is a good place to just start with this, and then if I end up liking all of it, if I like it, then I will at some point get the other version. Although there's a lot of that. Although it is on my wish list, so I'm who knows, I might even get it for my birthday. But I mean, which I will have to check on that and make sure it's the one that I'm looking for, and not someone won't pick the same book. But yeah, so there's that as well, and here's the star of the Dusk, which is part of the first book in the let me see, Raziels. I still don't know how to say that. It's a family saga, and this is the first book, and I cannot wait. I'm excited to read this. Via Harrow is actually another book, is by the same author, F. Soinil Jose. So this is his most, probably would be considered his magnum opus, this particular series that this book is from, and then he has all these other books as well. But this book is set in the 1800s, so it goes way back around like when Spain took over, when the Spanish were reigning. I'm guessing the rest of the series goes, through the years for the Philippines. But yeah, this is the one I'm most excited, obviously, about. And then also, one more book that I just realized I forgot to grab that I would like to read is The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. I'll read that in May as well. This is, that's another one of those books that I've been meaning to read, but haven't yet read it. I almost decided to let it go at one point, but then I basically changed my mind about it and thought, I probably will absolutely love it if I just give it a shot and make some progress. It's just, again, I'll have these books sitting on my shelf for a long period, then I'll feel like, okay, I need to decide to take some of these books off my shelf, and it adds a bit of pressure on me to feel like, okay, I need to, remove these books so I can make room for new books. And that's one of the ones I've changed my mind multiple times. So these are for my themed reading month. And then I mentioned all my other books here that I might get to. Who knows if I will get to all of them, but I do want to get to them at some point. So they might go into the summer. They might not, because there's only one more month until, although I guess June kind of counts as a spring month. But I don't know. But I always count June as summer, even though, yes, it does feel very spring-like, very much. It's still kind of like spring doesn't start until the end of the month. I mean, summer doesn't start until the end of the month. And most of June would be considered spring. But anyway. So that is my bookish update for you guys. What are you going to do, and what is your TBR in May? I would love to know. If you feel like sharing, please feel free to share in the comment section below. If you guys like this video, please give a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell icon below if you would like to be notified when I upload my videos. Please subscribe if you are interested in watching more of my videos. And I hope you're enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. All right, bye!